Welcome into Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Chase Senior. I hope all of your weeks are going very well. We start off today's show with getting into the latest on Gary Payton II, who's really been awesome for this Warriors team, whether he comes in off the bench or is a starter. Now, on last week's show, we talked about him signing that contract until the end of the regular season. There are some rumors picking up about the Warriors electing to sign him long-term so that he can be a part of this franchise over the next couple of years. But because his contract is somewhat complex, there are bird rights that come into play. Let's try to simplify it for you real quick. So The Athletic did a good job of breaking down his early bird rights versus normal bird rights. And because he signed that deal until the end of the year, he has early bird rights with his contract. What does that mean? Here you go, thanks to The Athletic. This opens up a viable suitor for Payton II, now capable of offering significantly more than just over his minimum or even the taxpayer mid-level exception. That is great for Gary Payton if he wants to stick around, but also gives him leverage in negotiations with the Warriors and other potential suitors as an unrestricted free agent in NBA free agency. Now, there is no guarantee that a more lucrative offer will be on the table, but after starting the season with the best stretch of his career, being able to parlay those rights into a more significant contract wherever the offer comes from is a very, very good thing for Payton II. So basically, to summarize all of that up, Gary Payton II has a lot of leverage. Part of that is because of the fine-tuned details in his contract. The other part of that with how well he has played this year for Golden State. And really, it's a marvelous story. When he came out of Oregon State, he was a journeyman, up and down between the NBA level as well as the G League. And from 2017 to 2021, he really was a fringe player on a lot of rosters. Even last year was a fringe player on the Warriors roster. 2017 to 2021, 3.5 points per game, more than 2 rebounds, little less than a steal per game. He only shot around 43% from the floor and a little less than 27% from distance. This year, though, he's given this Warriors team an edge. He's a bulldog. He's an athlete. He's a high flyer. He can guard multiple positions. He can play the guard spot. He has even played center. And Steve Kerr has gone as far as to design plays for him and actions for him coming off screens, getting dunks, as well as getting some open opportunities to put the biscuit in the basket. And this year, it's really paid off for GP2. 8 points per game. He's shooting 65% from the deck and 42% from three. All of those numbers, career highs for Gary Payton II. And he's really become a complementary piece for the Warriors for all of the reasons that I just mentioned. So when we start to look ahead for GP2, as a guy who can come in off the bench, play a lot of minutes some nights, play less minutes other nights depending on the matchup, and fulfill a lot of different roles as the ultimate glue guy, I'd like the Warriors to keep this guy around. We know that they prioritize culture, and a guy like this certainly adds to the culture element in San Francisco. I kind of let my feelings be known. You let your feelings be known now in the comment section down below. Do you want the Warriors to give Gary Payton II a bigger contract, type P for pay, type T for he might demand too much money? Get those votes in the comment section right now. Now, if Gary Payton II signs a contract, if a trade happens leading up to the February 10th NBA trade deadline, we have you covered here on Golden State Warriors Today. We're the fastest growing Dubs channel on YouTube, well north of 25,000 subscribers. Let's continue to grow. If you want your Warriors coverage in an informative, entertaining, consistent, fast way, we have you covered here on the channel. Just hit that red subscribe button down below. Want to give a shout out to today's presenting sponsor, BetUS, our wonderful sports book here at Chat Sports and on Warriors Today. You can get a 125% deposit bonus by going to chatsports.com/bet and enter the promo code CHAT125. Now, a couple weeks ago, the Warriors were title favorites in the NBA. Now they're not. Slipping down to that number 2 spot behind the Brooklyn Nets. Warriors right now plus 350, Bucks at plus 800. So that basically means if you put $1 down on the Bucks to win a championship, you'd get $8 back. That's kind of how these betting odds work. So honestly, you're getting decent value with the Warriors sliding back to that number 2 spot if you think that they have a roster capable of bringing home the Larry O'Brien trophy. One more time, it's chatsports.com/bet. Enter the promo code CHAT125 for that 125% deposit bonus. Basically what that means, you put in $100, By using that link in that promo code, you get an additional $125 back. It's $225 to game with. That deal applies for anybody, no matter where you live. We're talking about some Golden State Warriors trade rumors here on Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. And with the NBA trade deadline less than a month away, these rumors are going to really pick up, and some of them will be viable. Others will not be credible. This one, I think, fits that latter category. An insane Bradley Beal trade idea thrown out there by DraftKings. Here it is. The Golden State Warriors would receive Bradley Beal, one of the best sharpshooters in the NBA. The Washington Wizards would get Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, Jordan Poole, and 3 first-round picks. Now, of course, Golden State would be getting the highlight reel-worthy player back in Bradley Beal, one of the best offensive players in the NBA. He finished second last year in the scoring title behind Steph Curry, who after the All-Star break went on a heater. Bradley Beal is a special, special player. And basically, if the Warriors were to make this trade, you're weighing a couple of things. Obviously, with Klay Thompson coming back off the consecutive torn ACL and torn Achilles injuries, Klay Thompson gives you an immediate opportunity to win an NBA championship. And if you were to trade for Bradley Beal, this would be the ultimate win now move, because basically by doing this, you're not thinking about the future. You're not thinking about 5 years down the road, because you're giving up a couple of really good young players in Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga. You're giving up future draft capital in those 3 first-round picks, and Andrew Wiggins is still in his mid-20s as well as a borderline all-star this year. You bring in Bradley Beal, and basically you're putting all your chips on the table in hopes that you can win an NBA championship this year. You're also balancing this: depleting your roster with some really good young assets and pieces, combined with getting a star. Now, I wouldn't make this trade because I think you're giving up far too much. You're sacrificing a lot on the defensive end of the floor. I love what Wiggins has brought this team this year. I think Jordan Poole can be a future third splash brother. The athletic upside of Kuminga on both ends of the floor is enormous as a two-way player who really reminds me a lot of Jaylen Brown. And then the 3 first-round picks, they are valuable even though teams across the NBA don't necessarily value some of those picks. Bradley Beal has had a really curious year here in 2021-22 compared to what he did a year ago when, again, he finished second in the NBA in the scoring title behind Steph Curry. Last year, he was a bona fide MVP candidate, folks. 31-plus points per game. He shot almost 49% from the floor, nearly 35% from distance, and from the free throw stripe, almost 89%. This year, though, all of those numbers down all across the board, which really are big concerns for the Warriors if they were to make this trade, and for Bradley Beal. Why have his numbers dipped so low and so significantly from last year to this year, where his field goal percentage is down from 48.5 to 45.5? The field goal percentage is down from 35 to almost 30. And the free throw percentage is even down about 5 percentage points as well. That's why I'm just looking at this Warriors roster right now, and I'm like, yo, I don't think the Dubs really necessarily need to make a trade for Bradley Beal or any other star player out there, because I love the blend of star power, offensive output, defense, but most importantly, that championship culture, which is really reminding me a lot of that dynasty run that the Warriors went on several years ago. So for those reasons, I'm not making that trade, but I know a lot of people out there, they are very high on Bradley Beal and his ability as a scorer, but again, he doesn't give you a lot defensively, if anything. Andrew Wiggins does, and I like the young assets on this team as well. So with that, let me ask you this before we hop on out of here on today's show. Would you make that trade for Bradley Beal? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get those votes in the comments section, and thanks for watching today's show.